but also the practice teachers who told us that we have to do a Forschung thing told us that if we want, we can dress up. And one of my classmates, one of the girls, I mean, I think the girls actually dressed up, but I don't remember what they dressed up as, except for one who dressed up as a cat. A black cat, you know, it's even good for Halloween. I didn't dress up, and my friend didn't dress up, but at least to do half an effort. I mean, you know me. I'm all about the half effort. Even the stream, even my YouTube stuff, everything. Did you just crit Barrett? Aris, the one time you crit, seriously, and you hit Barrett. Basically, I have a shirt with like a Mario 1-up mushroom on it. And the text, get alive. So I put that on and pretended to be a 1-up. That was my costume. But yeah, and then of course during the Forschungi party itself, our task was mostly to keep up the peace, and also we helped with the cat in the bag as well. Because of course we did. We helped distribute it. You know, we helped give out the tickets, and then when the tickets were being brought back, then we have to find the right bags and give them out accordingly. And I think even this what? I wasn't paying attention. Oh, all is level 3, nice. What does that mean? She can heal everyone 3 times. Yeah. So, you know how I said that we had this performance stuff, and then the winners got to win a cake and stuff? This elementary school where I'm still practicing also had a cake thing, but instead of if instead of a prize for a contest, a competition, they made it so one of the raffle ticket numbers meant a cake, and if someone won that cake, then they won that cake for their entire class. So basically they did something good for their class, and that class got to eat the cake the next day probably, because they didn't eat it on site. I would know if they did. So the cake in this case was part of the raffle and not a competition. I think our version was better. First of all, because there were more cakes. I think here there were 2 cakes. In our version there were 3 cakes. And also you actually had to do something worthwhile as a class in order to win a cake, which was just the coolest thing. What else? I'm trying to think what else. The guy fell down again. I don't know what causes it. I could check it, but I don't want to. So yeah, that was cool. And there was, I mean, the Forschung I attended as a teacher to be was okay. I mean, there was a lot of music and stuff, but I dare say that our Forschung in my school were 10 times better. Both of them had the raffle, but ours had the competition, and not just one competition. I mean, I focused on that because that was the bigger one. But we also had like the costume contest. Of course, you have to have a costume contest if people take the time to actually dress up. And it was a voluntary thing. You didn't actually have to partake in the costume contest. If you did, what you had to do is the Forschung, the school Forschung, took place in the gym, in the school gym. It was a gigantic room, so it was perfect for that. And at a certain time, they cleared out the middle of the room. And then whoever agreed to do, like, be part of the costume contest, they lined up at one part, and then one by one they had to do a round, just walk around, and everyone else who was not partaking was standing by the walls. So basically it just means that everyone gets to take a good look at the costumes. I don't know why, because the people didn't actually decide who won. Aries probably got a new limit break, maybe. Nope. Aries got probably a materia upgrade, or I think she learned Toad actually. Yeah, because she just had Mini until now. Now she has Toad. It's basically Mini 2. So the kids who agreed to the contest walked around in the room, maybe did a little performance themselves, just like a little bit, like my sister. One time my sister did this, and what she did is learn a little poem, a ditty, relevant to her costume. It was really popular. Anyway, I don't actually remember what the prize was for this, but there was a prize. But because it was like an individual thing, people didn't really do it, because, you know, people are shy and they're too cool to do that. But yeah, and then also my favorite part of the Farsham, I have to say. Can you guys stop killing each other? My favorite part of the Farsham was the fact that every single kid, or rather their parents, had to prepare like snacks for Farsham. Every single class had their own prepared snack room, where the parents took their snacks, put it down on the tables, and then anyone from that class was able to go in and eat anything, anytime. And of course this was my favorite part, because usually parents try to do like one up each other by bringing like little cakes or little sweets, or like all these tiny sandwich things. People said that that's what the lame parents prepared, but I actually liked the little sandwiches, because they were special. Because I mean, I can make a sandwich for myself at home, but these little sandwiches were special because these were Farsham sandwiches. They had special stuff on them that I don't usually put on it. It was just good. I think the two places I spent the Farsham parties the most, first of all, it was the snack room. Secondly, it was either by the walls in the gym, watching people dance or whatever, or right next to the loudspeakers. Because, you know, the teachers prepared all this party stuff, like they had the lights, the disco lights going all over the place. They had the speakers, and these speakers, I mean, when I was a kid, you know, kids are pretty small, the perspective is different. These speakers were basically as big as a kid. And they had two of these speakers, one in two opposite corners, and then speakers near the lights as well, in the middle. It was really loud, and people like to do some dares to stand right next to the loudspeaker, the gigantic fucking loudspeaker, and how long you can stand there before you have to go because it's way too loud. It wasn't actually way too loud, we just didn't want to stand next to it for too long because it was very loud. And yeah, some people danced because it is a party. I didn't like dancing, I didn't like showing off, I didn't like being noticed. Even though okay, so that's not true. I liked being noticed, but I didn't like when I got noticed. It's difficult to explain. I guess that's technically what being an ambitious introvert is like. You want to be noticed, but you don't actually like when you get noticed. It's a difficult existence. How long have I been here? What level am I? Level 30. Let's keep going. I mean, if I can think of anything else to talk about. I don't know how fun this is, because the game, I'm just grinding right now. I can guarantee the game is not interesting. But maybe what I'm talking about is, I don't know. You tell me. I'm just trying to keep talking. That's the hardest thing about. In the past I already talked about it, but when I was I was playing some other game. If there is like a part of the game where you're just grinding something, or you're doing the exact same things over and over again, like when I was playing Dead Cells and I was in 5 BC, and the early levels are just nothing, and then later on you have to pay attention. That's when I mentioned the first or second time that the hardest part of being a streamer, especially a streamer like me, who I'm pretty sure these 12 hours I stream every single week, multiple times as much talking that I do on the rest of the week combined. Like, I never talk this much, so it makes it difficult. Like, I sit down here and I have to talk for 4 hours, and I have to make it interesting. What the fuck do I talk about for 4 hours? Sometimes the game is interesting enough to actually be able to just talk about it, or when I'm trying to do voices and failing at it, but still trying, that's half success. Then of course, that's what I'm doing. But when, for example, this is the absolute worst case scenario where I'm just grinding, because I think this is gonna help me. And I think this is gonna help me because Barret already has 1700 health. That's a lot of health. He can survive at least 1 or 2 strikes from the boss. Let me just heal. Ares and Cloud should be able to survive at least 1 hit from the boss as well. But I kind of want to get Cloud to level 35, and at that point I think I could take on that boss pretty easily. And until then I have to do story times. But if I tell every single story of my life, I'm not gonna have stories left for any other time. So this is where I would ask if I had more viewers, but whoever's here, anything you would like to know, anything like you would like to ask about, even if it's dumb, there are no dumb questions, just dumb answers, and that would be my fault. That's not even true. There are dumb questions. Like if you I can't think of one, but I know they exist. The mythical dumb question. Okay, Cloud, you okay? I need to drink. I've been talking for like how long? Almost 40 minutes at this point. I need to drink. My mouth is tired. It's gonna get fucking pimples again. My nose gets full when I'm talking too much. I'm getting a lot of money from this, by the way. I'm almost at 30,000. I don't know what else I can... I mean, I guess I could talk about, because Farsang, yeah. I already said everything about that. Farsang is like Hungarian Halloween, except completely different. And at a completely different time of the year, like Halloween is in October. Farsang is in February, so that's pretty much the complete opposite. But I think it's also in February where there is a much more well-known Hungarian tradition that's not actually practiced in many places. There is one town that practices it regularly every February, and then the rest of the country knows about it, but doesn't necessarily do it because it's just a little bit too elaborate, I guess. And it's called... Second, I need to heal here. It's called the Busójárás, which if I wanted to translate it, Busó, I don't think it actually has a translation. Because this is a word specifically tied to this holiday. Well, not holiday, this event, this tradition. Járás basically means walking. Something walks. So it's basically the Busho walk. Busho march, maybe. And what it basically means, I mean, just right now, go to Google and Google Hungarian Busho walk. Busho is like B-U-S-O. You can't write long O. It would be normally a long O. You can't write that short, so a short O is enough. You're gonna see some weird pictures of like these gigantic, hairy, furry masks. Not furry like that, just literally they have fur on them. Animal fur, probably. Basically, that town, this is the alternative to Farsang, where instead of dressing up as all kind of things and scaring, they put on these fucking scary demon masks and go around basically tricking and scaring people, and that's how they scare winter away. They also drink a lot, but that's just a given in a Hungarian holiday. You drink a lot. Not the kids, of course, not in the elementary school, but every other time, if there's a celebration and you're with friends or a party or something, you're gonna drink. Probably you're gonna you're gonna have at least one short. Short. I don't know if they used this word in English actually, but in Hungarian, a short means like a very small glass of very strong alcohol. That's a short. It's short because you're meant to drink. It's very small, and you're meant to drink it a shot. Yes, except here it's called a short, and you're meant to drink it in just one go, one short sip, one short gulp, and it's gonna destroy your throat for the next 30 seconds, basically. And that's when you drink some beer on it, so it washes it down. Yes. Yeah. I don't actually know why they call it a short. But it probably has something to do about it being very small. And also, I just fulfilled the Hungarian rule of conversation. If you speak with a Hungarian long enough, I mean, I'm literally just making this up, but it is technically true. If you're talking with a Hungarian long enough, the conversation will eventually end up about alcoholic drinks. Alright, have fun with that. I haven't watched LEC in like since the world before the last, I guess. I'm pretty sure I haven't watched the last World Championship. Maybe I watched the one before that. But yeah, and also on really big celebrations, you don't just drink beer and you don't just drink a short. What you drink is palinka, which I don't know if I mean, palinka is specifically a Hungarian alcoholic drink. Like, you cannot find this anywhere else because it's like a Hungarian World Heritage. The country has claim to it, and nobody else can make it without permission, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there is law even in Hungary that you cannot make palinka if you don't have a permit for it. And this law is basically there to preserve the integrity of this Hungarian drink. Because if just anyone... It's easy to make palinka, but it's difficult to make good palinka. So if just anyone could make it whenever they wanted, then the name of the palinka would quickly degrade. And so there are laws to who can actually make it. It's pretty interesting. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it only applies to palinka. Anyone with the right tools can make the other kind of drinks. It's just palinka that's protected. You can make palinka out of anything. I mean, you can make like fruit palinkas are kind of apple, grape, peach. Pear, that was my favorite. One time I drank that. That was amazing. It's like a sweet type of pear palinka. That was you couldn't even taste the alcohol on it, even though it was very much alcoholic, but you couldn't taste it. It was so fucking sweet. And you can make it out of like potatoes. You can make it out of basically anything you can think of. If you have some leftover vegetables or fruits or something that's too rotten to do anything with, usually if fruit is rotten, yes, basically yes, that's I'm not even exaggerating. You can basically make palinka out of anything. But the thing is, let me just, what did I want to say? Usually when you have leftover fruit that's a bit too rotten to be eaten raw, village people made like what is the English name of that thing where you put like fruit in a jar and you put it in water and you sugar it up and you put it away into the basement, and it's good forever basically. In Hungarian it's called yeah, preserve, but in Hungarian fruit preserve has a specific name. Fruit preserve in a jar is called a befő, which is a weird name because that has like a bake in the name, but it's not baked, it's just preserved fruit in a jar. And every time my grandmother made them, old folk loved to make it because it's good anytime and it's very sweet. She made like this peach befőt, and she made it very, very sweet. So when I was a kid, I loved eating that shit. It was amazing. And I never really ate a befőt like that ever again. Only the way that she made it, that was amazing. But what I'm trying to say is that when fruit is rotten, you can make befőt with it. And if it's too rotten to make befőt with it, then you make palinka with it. That's basically the rule. Or used to be, when people were actually allowed to make them. And of course, if it's not rotten enough for befőt, you can still make palinka with it. And there are jokes about like married couples arguing what they should make up with the fruit, because the woman would make, we should make befőt, and the man would say we should make palinka. There is like this joke. Okay, so before I say tell this joke, I have to make a disclaimer. Hungarian jokes tend to be very offensive, very morbid sometimes. It's just a standard thing. Hungarian censorship basically doesn't exist. Hungarians just say whatever they want. They are very honest people in the jokes, everything. So if a joke I say is too offensive, that's because it's a Hungarian joke. But basically, I remember this joke. It's not even that good of a joke, but it shows off what I just said pretty well. Whereas the villager and his son are out in the vineyard picking the grapes, and then it's a lot of grape. And the kid asks the father, "Father, what are we going to do with all these grapes?" And the father replies, "Well, if your mother gets better, it's gonna be befőt. If she doesn't, it's gonna be palinka." And that's basically how it goes, because on one hand, yes, married couples did, in the villages, they did argue about whether to make befőt or palinka, but usually the woman always won these arguments. So if there was a clashing opinion on what to do, usually what the woman said goes. They are Hungarian women, used to be very scary. I mean, I know, I am my grandmother. Both my grandmothers were like that. I mean, I'm talking past tense. Maybe I shouldn't talk in past tense. I don't want to claim anything about the present. I just know that in the past, women, I mean men, of course, they were the lords of like workplaces, and whoever owned like houses, and whoever worked in the fields. I mean, that's not true. Women also worked in the fields. But at home, it's just the wife. The wife is always right. And if you stay out drinking with friends and you go home at 4 a.m., expect to be beaten up by a rolling pin or a frying pan. Not beaten up too bad. It's just like the woman is not gonna like that, and she's gonna be in the right. And whatever she says goes. And if she says, okay, this was the last time you did this, you can't go out with your friends out on the town to drink at night, like after 8 p.m. or whatever. The husband has no place to actually argue about that. It's kind of weird. Because I'm not gonna deny that like sexism was part of Hungary, but at the same time, women always had some power, like on a personal level. Yeah, I don't know, because I know that in some countries it was always like the man is everything and man says whatever. That's the thing. In Hungary, I don't remember a single time when that was the case, because for one, I'm pretty sure Hungary was one of the first countries in Europe that had a queen, like Queen Mary or Elizabeth. No, not Elizabeth. It was Queen Mary. And she was also the one who reformed education. So she was actually a very good queen on top of that. Very well known. But also, even in older times when there were no queens yet, I know that there were I mean, just you have to look up like that. There is a painting. There is a very famous Hungarian siege of Egervár, which was like it was at the time when the Turk Empire was trying to get into Europe, and they had to go through Hungary, and they actually failed to go through Hungary. They did conquer like 1/3 of Hungary, but they never managed to actually break through Hungary. So Hungary saved the rest of Europe from the Turks. And yeah, I'm gonna. I still have plenty of MP. I don't have to. Anyway, Egervár. There is actually a painting about this siege, and the painting just confirms, but there are like historical records of the fact that the women of the town, I'm pretty sure they were taught, like usual, you know, the women should get to safety because, you know, preservation and whatever, but the woman of Egervár said, fuck no, we're gonna fight, we're gonna get fucking searing oil in like these cauldrons, and then when the Turks are climbing up the castle wall, we're gonna dump it on them. Just fuck them. And you can basically see this happening on that painting. And it's fucking amazing. So the women actually actively took part in defending the town. So I'm being told that, you know, feminism, of course, I'm everything about equality. I love equality. I don't see the reason why anyone should be disadvantaged for reasons that pertain to them being born a certain way. That just makes no sense to me. Be it, you know, race or gender or whatever. But even then, in other countries, that's, I mean, definitely a problem. In Hungary, sure, there were and there still are roles, like gender roles, like specific roles. Like the stay-at-home mother, the father must be the worker of the family and whatever. washing the dishes. Well, washing the dishes not even, because my father washed a lot of dishes a lot of times. I don't know. But the point is, when I look back at history, I always see that women in Hungary always had the choice. I mean, maybe not on a governmental level. I don't know much about that, but on a personal level, on small individual societies, in terms of that, they always had the choice. I know about like even in older times when like small villages had female leaders or whatever. So that's always been a case. I don't know if that's very progressive of Hungary in earlier times, or it's just actually a general thing in Europe as a whole, and I just don't know because, well, my history lessons in school generally partook about Hungary and not of the other countries, except when they had Hungary involved somehow. But I think that's standard. I mean, I'm pretty sure most Americans don't know much about European history beyond what's standard, you know, Greek stuff and Roman stuff and whatever, Germany and the UK. But they probably wouldn't be able to say anything about, say, Finland. I mean, even I couldn't. Again, I mostly just know about Hungarian history. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to think about.